It's Thursday, August 4th. Abortion rights are here to stay. In Kansas. But what about the rest of the country? We start here.
People in states can stand up and say no.
A red state votes to protect abortion access.
No one saw this coming, certainly not this overwhelming. I mean, this was a blowout.
What that vote on abortion rights could mean for the midterms. You think you have good credit? Think again.
There were a lot of people, some of them had credit scores above 700 that when they were checked, Equifax said they had no credit score at all.
A major credit bureau is accused of sending thousands of incorrect scores. And school may soon be back in session, but good luck finding a teacher.
We don't have teachers for the classrooms or bus drivers to take our children to school.
Why some schools are sounding the alarm about staffing shortages. From ABC News, this is Start Here. I'm Kelly Therese. Hey there, Kelly here. I'm a producer on the show. Brad's off today, so you'll be starting here with me. This week, Kansas voted to protect abortion rights.
I'm super proud to be from Kansas tonight, and I feel like my state just showed up and boldly told me that they are going to take care of me and my female friends and everyone that can get pregnant in the state of Kansas. We are protected tonight.
Voters rejected a constitutional amendment that would have let state legislators ban or severely restrict abortion. And while it is a red state, it's the only state in the region where abortion is still legal.
There have been big steps forward in the fight to protect our rights, but it's not the end of the fight.
Yesterday, President Biden signed an executive order to expand coverage for patients traveling to states like Kansas for abortion care.
This is a big deal for women who are trying to figure out how are they going to pay for their health care. This is a big, big deal for them.
The Kansas ballot measure is the first test of where Americans stand on the issue of abortion rights since Roe v. Wade was overturned. Let's go to our ABC News political director, Rick Klein, for this one. Hey, Rick.
Hey, Kelly.
So you're the expert on this. I think everyone wants to know, what are the takeaways from this vote? I mean, this is a red state. There are more Republicans registered to vote than Democrats. What happened here?
First of all, we should still have the capacity to be surprised in cases like this. No one saw this coming, certainly not this overwhelming. I mean, this was a blowout. Think about a state that's got 350,000 more registered Republicans than Democrats. It's really not competitive at the national level for Democrats at all. Republicans thought in putting this on the ballot that this would kind of be a slam dunk. They'd get this done in the middle of the summer in a kind of low turnout affair. But what they did, conservative activists that put this on the ballot, it backfired because what it did was energize the Democratic base, the progressive base, the liberal base, even frankly a lot of moderates and even conservatives who thought, you know what, I'm kind of comfortable with the status quo. I like what we have here. Kansas is a bit of an oasis across the Midwest and in states to its south. There are almost no other states in the area that provide open access to abortion. And activists on the conservative side wanted to change that, and they were rebuked.
In this difficult time, in this time of confusion, we know that our state will have better days ahead of itself. We're going to get through this difficult period.
In the end, we're just going to keep fighting. There's nobody that's unwanted, and nobody wants to ever give up.
What it did was it sparked something of a rebellion among suburban voters as well as rural voters. It was striking to me to see the returns come in and see that the no on this, which prevailed and which protects the right to an abortion, did way better than Joe Biden did way better than their Democratic governor, Laura Kelly, did a couple years ago. So this seems to really cut across party lines.
And the turnout was a surprise too, right?
Off the charts. And that's the thing that I think strategists are looking at, because we talk all the time in politics about game-changing issues that motivate votes and single-issue voters. And for decades now, it's been conservatives who voted on abortion rights because they weren't happy with the status quo. What the Dobbs decision overturning Roe v. Wade did overnight is throw it to the other side and put the challenge on people that consider themselves people that support abortion rights to do the same kind of organizing and the same kind of activism that the other side have been doing for decades.
The women are coming out of the woodworks. We are not going anywhere, and we are going to protect ourselves, and we're going to protect our others.
We all thought it was going to be much closer, and the overwhelming no vote just proves that people in states can stand up and say no. You're not going to control my body. You're not going to control my life.
You're going to see 5 or 6 other states that have similar ballot initiatives, including a battleground like Michigan, maybe Colorado as well. And you're going to see this used as something of a template for organizing, that whatever else is going on in the national environment, whatever Democrats or Republicans think about Joe Biden or inflation or gas prices or anything else, this issue of a woman's right to choose being front and center. And it's going to happen in red states, in blue states, in purple states, all around the country.
Okay, but hear me out. This is just a ballot measure, right? I mean, are we really expecting Republicans to vote for Democrats in November?
Well, yeah, and that's a huge question out of this, because this was one narrow question on one issue on one summer day in one state. And single issue voters, they exist in lots of areas, but are there enough of them specifically on abortion rights to make a difference? Yes, like you say, to say I'm going to vote for a candidate such and such. I think it'll have a different impact potentially at the state level than the federal level. And it will matter if you're electing a governor in a divided state, in a Michigan, a Wisconsin, a Pennsylvania. It does matter greatly what kind of leadership you have, because you're talking about someone that would either sign a ban or a restriction into law or veto it. Or the other side of it, signing something that assures abortion access into law or vetoing it.
And I know Kansas was the big surprise on Tuesday night, but it wasn't the only state voting. So what were the other takeaways for you?
Yeah, as the dust settles, it was striking about what a big night it was in Republican primaries for Trump-backed candidates, specifically Trump-backed candidates who support his lies about the last election.
And your governor, Doug Ducey, has done absolutely nothing to help. He's all talk and no action, and you'll see what can happen when Kari Lake becomes your governor.
It's still too close to call, but Kari Lake, the former local news anchor endorsed by former President Trump, came out on stage multiple times overnight declaring victory. At one point, she brought out a sledgehammer, saying that it was intended for electronic voting machines.
We outvoted the fraud. We didn't listen to what the fake news had to say. The MAGA movement rose up and voted like their lives depended on it.
This is not the Republican Party of John McCain anymore. It's Donald Trump's. Doesn't mean they're going to be successful in the general election, but it does mean that they're putting forward a slate of candidates up and down from almost every level, although we don't have a projection yet in the governor's race, but almost every level, who deny the legitimacy of the last election. And Democrats, some of them may be happy that they're facing people like that, but they're also, I think, facing potentially an existential threat to democracy.
I think this is a time for reflection, but it's also a time for accountability.
Another really interesting one. Peter Meyer is one of the more fascinating test cases here. He's a freshman congressman from Michigan in his mid-30s. One of the first things he did as a newly elected member of Congress last January was vote to impeach a president of his own party.
Absolutely gut-wrenching. Impeaching a president, especially a president of my own party, was nothing that we ever hoped to do.
Democrats actually helped one of his opponents because they thought that person would be easier to beat. Peter Meyer went down. And it keeps alive a track record so far. Out of those 10 that voted to impeach President Trump, only one, a congressman from California, which has kind of an all-party primary system, has definitely gotten through. 2 others in Washington are likely to. The big one, 2 weeks away, Liz Cheney in Wyoming.
All right, that is ABC News political director Rick Klein. Thanks so much, Rick.
Thank you. Good to be with you.
Next up on Start Here, give us some credit if you can get the right score. More after the break.
It's an extraordinary story.
A computer salesman was supposed to report to prison to begin a 17-year sentence.
They let him turn himself into jail with no escort.
No one thought he would run.
How do you evade capture for 25 years? How do you do that?
Now, join the search, following the U.S. Marshals as they uncover new leads in a global manhunt. Can you help catch this fugitive?
Have you seen this man?
Have you seen this man?
Have you seen this man? Listen and join the all-new hunt wherever you get your podcasts.
Admit it. These days, what you need to know
seems to change just about every day.
What is it that you really want to know, need to know?
To help you not just get through your day,
but to make the most of it. Feel smarter.
Feel better.
Feel happier.
Well, how about a third hour of Good Morning America?
GMA 3, what you need to know. Now streaming on ABC News Live.
It's all about you.
I know what happened, and I'm not guilty.
Why the fascination with criminal trials? Figure out what's really out there.
She revealed she had murdered his family.
I know in my heart that he did this.
It's the time of suspicion.
The ending's really tough.
You don't know whether truth is going to be difficult to find. unless you try to find it.
America's #1 news, ABC News. Most watched, most trusted, and streaming live to you anytime, anywhere, and free. This is ABC News Live, America's #1 streaming news, free to you 24/7. Watch America's #1 news whenever you want it, wherever you are, anytime. ABC News Live, streaming live and free on all platforms.
As a professional athlete, you want to do stuff that's awe-inspiring, death-defying.
I continue to chase that feeling, but there's an absolute moment of leap of faith.
To be an elite adventure athlete, you have to push past the fear to achieve a transcendent experience. Sometimes the only way to find the edge is to go over it.
Amber Rose Isaac was the love of my life.
She went into the hospital.
And then I just see Shamani as...
She was as good as dead as soon as she walked into that hospital.
Black women are 4 times more likely to die than their white counterparts with the same symptoms.
I can't let Amber be another statistic. We need to make sure that this doesn't happen to anyone else.
This fight is not over.
We're doing this together, man.
This is Katya, and this is Maurice. Alone, they could only dream of volcanoes. Together, they can reach them.
Me fait remarquer que nous sommes fous de rester là. Et pourtant, nous restons.
In this fire, 2 lovers found a home.
Fire of Love, rated PG.
This is a bizarre and twisted case of a fatal attraction.
What if you were being stalked by a past lover?
My phone starts blowing up. I hate you. You ruined my life.
Only to then find out the person you thought was stalking you was...
Could it be that she's actually been dead this entire time?
What?
So, if she's been dead the whole time, who's the stalker? Who's the victim?
I didn't know what to think.
Could they be the same woman?
This is despicable.
Friday at 9/8 Central on ABC.
Good morning, America.
Tomorrow, start your weekend off with the cast of Hamilton performing live in the park.
You do not want to miss this.
Tomorrow.
Do not throw away your shot at seeing Hamilton live only on Good Morning America.
Sponsored by Massage Envy. We're honored. ABC News Live, nominated for 5 Emmy Awards for Excellence. The only streaming news receiving any nominations. Thank you for the honor 5 times over. And thank you for making ABC News Live America's #1 streaming news.
Tonight,
we are going to Hollywood.
This is where dreams are made and crushed. Like his.
He wants to be a star.
But
I was not terribly impressed by Zach's acting.
This man was terrible.
This is where things go off script.
He was living the life of a Hollywood mogul, and he was a 2-bit criminal.
Nobody saw it coming.
The performance that he gave investors, Meryl Streep could never.
They lost everything.
The Con, tonight on ABC.
There are lots of things you need a good credit score for. Buying a home, applying for a new credit card, better insurance rates. Lenders say it's a snapshot of your credit risk when you apply for a loan. But what if your credit score is wrong?
News tonight about a major error possibly affecting the credit scores of millions of Americans.
Well, this week, the Wall Street Journal reported that credit giant Equifax sent lenders incorrect credit scores for millions of Americans. Equifax claimed the problem was due to a coding issue that has since been fixed. ABC News' Trevor Alt has been reporting on this story. Trevor, first of all, can you please explain to me what Equifax does?
Sure. So you have your credit score, which is basically what our system here in the United States determines is your ability to be trusted when taking out a loan and how much you can leverage that in order to maybe get a better rate if you're looking to get one. Equifax is one of the nation's largest consumer credit reporting agencies. There are basically the big 3. Equifax is certainly one of them, and we're talking about truly millions of people who interact directly with Equifax, and Equifax has a direct impact on their ability to purchase a car, to purchase a home, or to get a credit card too. And so it's already, as I'm sure you're aware, Kelly, it's a complicated process of your credit score. I mean, they're traditionally from 300 to 850. It's not like a check yes or no, is this person reliable? It's complicated, and we put a lot of trust in the system. And essentially what we've learned from this release is that Equifax, for a period of about 3 weeks in the spring, from mid-March into early April, they say they had this coding error, and essentially they miscalculated for a lot of consumers when they were applying for car loans or home loans or credit cards.
So according to Equifax, 300,000 consumers would have experienced credit score changes of 25 points or more.
Now, that is enough that it could make an impact in your ability to get a good interest rate there. And of course, we know interest rates have since climbed.
We had a coding issue that was a mistake made by our technology team in one of our legacy applications that resulted in some scores going out that had incorrect data in it.
The CEO was actually kind of dismissive of this. He actually said at a financial conference back in June, he said they think the impact's going to be quite small. And also he said this is not something that's meaningful to Equifax, which is something that has a lot of people upset because the Wall Street Journal's reporting this actually was impacting millions of consumers having inaccurate credit scores.
And obviously, any data quality issue is a big issue for us. We take it very seriously, and it's one that we're going to make sure we're going to fix.
And there were a lot of people, some of them had credit scores above 700 that when they were checked, Equifax said they had no credit score at all. And there are people who said this really negatively impacted their lives.
In mid-March, mortgage rates were around 4.5% to 5%, and now they're at 5.5%. So they are higher. If you were to take out a $400,000 30-year fixed rate mortgage, you would be looking at a difference in price of about $185 per month.
Freddie Mac, which issues home loans, it's a major federally backed organization. They said that they learned in June that 12% or so of credit reports during that 3-week stretch may have been miscalculated by Equifax. So it's not just, a random case where some unlucky person had the number wrong. We could be talking about more than 1 in 10 during that stretch.
Okay, so Equifax claims that less than 300,000 consumers experienced a score shift of 25 points or more. But people are still angry that they seem almost dismissive in their statement. And I know that in January, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau said that the 3 major credit reporting companies showed a pattern of inadequately responding to complaints of incorrect credit reports. Are consumers just powerless here?
I think in general, the American people don't necessarily have a sunny view about how the whole system is set up, but they do feel like there's not much they can do about it. I can say Equifax insists that they fixed the issue, that they fixed it back in April, and it's still working, and that they're also working with customers, working with consumers to figure out what the damage is so that they can try to make it right.
Long before they got hit by cyber attackers in 2017, it is our contention that Equifax knew full well that they had gaping holes in their cybersecurity systems.
At the same time, when you're talking about things being out of character, I mean, it was just a couple years ago that Equifax had a major data breach. We're talking about north of 100 million people who had valuable information leaked because of that breach.
The credit bureau agreeing to pay almost $700 million, including up to $425 million going to consumers, as much as $20,000 to each victim who lost money to identity theft or even just spent time trying to protect their data in the wake of the breach.
And also, what's maybe not helping them in terms of the public view right now is that as they're handling now this crisis here, this negative publicity, on Tuesday, they just revealed that they were going to be paying their CEO an extra $25 million in awarded stock. They said that basically compared to other executives of his standing, he was not being paid as much as other executives. But in the past 3 years, he was paid $44 million.
All right, that is ABC News correspondent Trevor Ault. Thanks so much, Trevor.
Kelly, thank you.
It's August, which means back to school is right around the corner. And while students may be gearing up with new notebooks or a cool backpack, their school could still be trying to find their teacher. The labor shortage hit schools especially hard last year. There weren't enough bus drivers, substitutes, cafeteria workers. The list went on. Now some states are warning that hundreds of teaching positions are still open for the fall. The Houston Independent School District, which is the largest school system in Texas, has over 800 job openings for teachers. In Baltimore, more than 600 open teacher jobs. And in Nevada, officials say thousands of teaching jobs are vacant across the state. Dawn Echeverry is a public school music teacher and the president of the Nevada State Education Association. Dawn, be real with me. Is Nevada worried about the fall semester?
Yeah, right now we're tracking over 3,000 jobs that are on our job boards. We don't have teachers for the classrooms, and I'm worried about lunch workers who aren't going to be there to serve our kids meals that they need and have missed throughout the summer. And in our second largest district, we don't have bus drivers start the school year, so kids will already go on a rotation of 1 week out without a bus driver every 4 weeks.
Oh my God, that's crazy to think about, especially I was a kid who took the bus every day to school growing up in suburban New Jersey. I cannot even imagine what my parents would have done.
Right. Well, or a bus driver, you probably, since you rode a bus, you know that the bus driver greeted you every morning. We call them our first educator because they're the first person that greets a child every morning. Now they're working in rotation. So that bus driver doesn't even get to know the children in their route because every week they change routes. If a child's had a bad day, started off a bad morning, they don't have the same face they get every morning greeting them. Also, the drivers sometimes know if there's an issue they need to alarm the schools about. It's a safety issue, right? Because our educators are the ones who make that personal contact with a child. So you're now not giving them the same person every day.
Wow. And then so with the teacher shortage specifically, how is that going to affect your school systems?
Right. So if we had bus drivers to get them to school, we'd have classes that are doubled in size. And we know that COVID brought us into a situation where children's social emotional learning was a big issue, right? We were isolated. Children weren't getting the time they needed with that adult or other children. So now you have teachers doubling their class sizes. So children aren't getting that need met.
Dawn, you've dealt with large classroom sizes. How has this affected your teaching?
It made it hard for me in my music classroom to get to instruments because it's hard to spend time one-on-one teaching a child how to do a fingering on a recorder, as you know, right? When you've got 40 sitting in your classroom. Or let's talk about a geometry teacher in a high school who now has 48 kids and they're trying to read all the proofs. Or an English teacher who has to read all those essays and they're following their curriculum. They want those kids to learn, so they're putting in how many hours outside their job to make sure kids are getting their needs met.
And that kind of leads into my other question. What do you think is the reason behind the shortage?
We have a legislature that meets every 2 years, and that's where we get our funding. And we are not competitive. Our salaries are some of the lowest in the nation, so we're not bringing in the new educators we need. Because if you come here, you can't afford to live here. So it's a cry that we need to start addressing to bring up salaries and benefits. I think nationally, respect. We've seen educator respect go, it's pretty low in how people feel. As you can see, school boards being attacked over even curriculum we're not teaching. I think we need to refocus what a teacher does or what an educator does, what a bus driver does, what a food service, what they're there for, and that's for children. Nobody came into this to make millions. We came in this because that was where our hearts led us to, and all we want is to be respected for that.
That is Dawn Echeverry, teacher and president of the Nevada State Education Association. Thanks so much, Dawn.
Thank you.
And one last thing. There was a lot of hype from superhero fans for the debut of Batgirl in the DC Extended Universe. In interviews, actress Leslie Grace said she was excited to star as the first Latina Batgirl. And Michael Keaton, yes, the Michael Keaton, who starred as Batman in the iconic 1989 film, was reprising the role.
What are you? I'm Batman.
But this week, after spending reportedly $90 million to make this thing, Warner Brothers Discovery shocked audiences by suddenly dropping the project.
Basically, they were done shooting, they were in the editing process, and then it was shelved.
That's ABC's Jason Nathanson, who covers all things Hollywood.
This movie was almost ready to go, which led some people to speculate, well, maybe it was really bad.
The online banter was so bad that Warner Brothers put out a statement saying, no, the decision had nothing to do with Leslie Grace's performance or the quality of the film. Instead, they said it was reflective of a strategic shift for the company.
Warner Brothers Studio on Thursday announced it would make all of its 2021 films available in theaters and on the HBO Max streaming service on the same day.
You may remember, back when theaters shut down during the pandemic, Warner Brothers said it would release its new movies on HBO Max at the same time that they played in theaters. It was a big boost for its new app.
Everything was going to streaming, customers were loving it, we're watching everything at home, and then reality kind of set in.
Some filmmakers who were working with Warner Brothers spoke out against the plan, including Christopher Nolan, who directed the 2008 Batman movie, The Dark Knight.
I mean, it's kind of a mess. Strange decision, very controversial here in Hollywood.
One giant merger later, lots of stuff has shaken loose at Warner Brothers Discovery. The company is refocusing on theatrical releases, so why not release Batgirl on the big screen? Well, Variety reported that Batgirl was caught somewhere in the middle economically. It wasn't big enough for a movie theater blockbuster, but not small enough for a streaming service release to make sense.
When you're making a $90 million movie just for streaming, the numbers don't add up because you have to make your money back somehow. And you're not going to make it back with subscribers. You're just not.
Instead, the company is reportedly planning on writing off the project on its taxes. That's a $90 million tax write-off, which would mean Batgirl can't be released at all. Release the Batgirl cut, Jason.
There's going to be that cry, and there already has been that cry on social media, and we've heard from the directors that they're heartbroken that they made this film, and that apparently nobody's going to see it.
For now, Batgirl will be staying in the Gotham City vault. Okay, so the movie Scoob Holiday Haunt has also been caught up in this and won't be released either. And as a longtime Scooby-Doo fan, I am absolutely devastated. For more on these stories, check out abcnews.com or the ABC News app. I'm Kelly Therese. Thanks for listening. See you soon.
Take America's #1 news with you anywhere you go, anytime, free. Download the ABC News app now. Breaking news, exclusives, 24/7. There for you with one touch. The ABC News app. Download it now.
Admit it. These days, what you need to know
seems to change just about every day.
What is it that you really want to know, need to know?
To help you not just get through your day,
but to make the most of it. Feel smarter.
Feel better.
Feel happier.
Well, how about a third hour of Good Morning America?
GMA 3, what you need to know. Now streaming on ABC News Live.
It's all about you.
It was an extraordinary story.
A computer salesman was supposed to report to prison to begin a 17-year sentence.
They let him turn himself into jail with no escort.
No one thought he would run.
How do you evade capture for 25 years? How do you do that?
Now, join the search, following the U.S. Marshals as they uncover new leads in a global manhunt. Can you help catch this fugitive?
Have you seen this man?
Have you seen this man?
Have you seen this man? Listen and join the all-new hunt wherever you get your podcasts.
The hottest views in daytime are happening right here.
We talk about things on this show that people don't talk about.
That I can't wait to see.
Honest takes from strong women.
We need all hands on deck, and we need it right now. This is the time to speak out.
Unafraid to get real.
We stick by our points of view.
We're all seeing it differently, and that's the beauty of The View.
And that's why the most watched #1 daytime talk show is The View. Now streaming on ABC News Live.
We were creating the perfect Mormon family. And then I fell in love with my friend. Yeah, I'm like stupidly in love with her. Leaving the church was leaving who I was. The lesbian ex-Mormon story is not something that's been shared very much, but I feel like our story needs to be told. Nobody tells you when you're Mormon is that there actually is another way.
Now streaming on ABC News Live 2020. True crime, cinematic, real-life drama, stunning, the unthinkable. Follow the clues. The Hunt. True crime 2020. Now streaming on ABC News Live.
Zoo!
200.
Oh, 200.
200 episodes of Dr. Pol. Music to my ears.
It's been 10 years, and I'm still having fun.
That rocks. He's got the moves that make your animals groove.
Now we do the dance of joy.
He's like the Justin Bieber of the
Headlining the hottest barns.
Shout out.
It's a show you won't want to miss.
I'm not going to be here forever. Maybe.
The Incredible Dr. Pol. New episodes Saturdays at 9 on Nat Geo Wild.
Right now on America This Morning, weather alert, historic and deadly heat on the move. Nearly 100 million Americans being warned about extreme conditions today, plus flood alerts after severe storms slam the Midwest. A girl hit by lightning, now fighting for her life.
Abortion vote fallout. The decision in red state Kansas to uphold abortion rights sending shockwaves. Will it affect Republicans' chances of taking control of Congress this fall? What Senator Mitch McConnell is saying.
Caught in a lie.
It's 100% real.
The stunning moment as conspiracy theorist Alex Jones, who once claimed the Sandy Hook school shooting was a hoax, is told that his text messages were accidentally leaked. What they reveal.
New details about a credit score reporting glitch that could impact millions of Americans, affecting their ability to qualify for loans.
Sign of the times, why viewers of a popular daytime soap,
So are the days of our lives.
will now have to pay to watch it.
Sticker shock. What's behind the sky-high price of concert tickets? Ticketmaster now responding.
And later, the backlash over a tourism ad encouraging women of all shapes and sizes to hit the beach.
From ABC News in New York, this is America This Morning.
Good Thursday morning, everyone. I'm Andrew Dimbert.
I'm Andrea Fujii in Fremona. We'll get to the extreme weather in the forecast in just a moment, but we begin with the fallout from that surprising vote to uphold abortion rights in Kansas.
The vote is already having implications far beyond Kansas. Top Democrats and Republicans alike are now weighing in on what this could mean for the midterm elections and Republicans' chances of taking control of Congress. ABC's M. Nguyen has more from Washington. M, good morning.
Good morning, Andrew. Democrats hope what happened in Kansas will shape the midterm election this fall, but many Republicans do not see it that way. This morning, Republicans are warning against drawing conclusions after the commanding victory for abortion rights in Kansas.
I was absolutely surprised, and I have no explanation. And again, it was just a gut punch. That's all I can tell you.
Voters in traditionally conservative Kansas overwhelmingly voted to protect abortion rights by rejecting a ballot measure Tuesday, turning out in record numbers for a summer primary election. The outcome suggests the threat to abortion rights could energize voters in the November midterm elections, possibly giving Democrats momentum in congressional races. But Senator Roger Marshall of Kansas is convinced voters will have other things on their mind in November.
I think voters come November will be very focused on the cost of gasoline and groceries and rent. That's all I hear about. My whole life's been about protecting the life of moms and babies, and I think that this was a step away from that. But nevertheless, I respect the process.
Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell appears to be expressing less optimism. McConnell previously predicted the November midterms would be very good for Republicans, but seemed to manage expectations during his appearance on Fox News last night.
I think it's going to be a very tight, we have a 50-50 Senate now, we have a 50-50 nation, and I think when this Senate race smoke clears, we're likely to have a very, very close Senate still, with either us up slightly or the Democrats up slightly.
In a new statement last night, President Biden said Americans are going to vote to reclaim the rights that the extreme Supreme Court has taken away from us. Looking ahead to November, 4 more states have abortion measures on the ballot: California, Kentucky, Montana, and Vermont. Andrew?
Thank you.
5-term Congresswoman Jackie Walorski is being remembered today as a no-nonsense lawmaker. The Indiana Republican and 2 of her staffers were killed in a car crash Wednesday in Indiana. The SUV they were riding in was hit head-on by another vehicle. That driver also died. Flags in Washington were lowered to half staff. Walorski was 58.
Now to the stunning moment in court when conspiracy theorist Alex Jones was caught in another lie. It came as he was cross-examined during a defamation trial stemming